And joining us now, Senator Marco Rubio from Texas this morning. Senator Rubio, thank you for joining us this morning. Lots of great reviews and great headlines last night. But the big question this morning for you, is it too little, too late?
Well, I don't believe that. I think it's important for people to understand they have a choice to make. Look, if this pattern continues, the conservative movement and the Republican Party is going to be taken over by a con artist, by someone who's portraying himself as the fighter of the ordinary person. You know, he's out there fighting for the working man, but in fact, Donald Trump has spent years sticking it to the working people.
Why didn't you make this case earlier? Was that a mistake?
Because, no, you know, George, I would prefer not to get into this situation where we're attacking one another, but the cover he's getting from the media these days is extraordinary. You watched last night on the cable shows afterwards, and they're all like, oh, what is Trump going to do now to Marco Rubio? Like he's some sort of invincible force. And I think what you realize is there are people now in the media, I'm not saying you, but others, rooting for him to win because they love, first of all, what it means for the ratings in a general election. But here's the other. For those who are biased, this means you're going to have a Republican nominee who basically agrees with Hillary Clinton on Planned Parenthood, on being neutral on Israel, on, you know, even on issues regarding the economy, like the takeover of our health care system by government. I mean, he used a talking point last night that Democrats consistently use, that if you don't support a government intervention in the health care industry, you're in favor of letting people die in the streets. So they're holding back, and as soon as the nominee, they're going to open up the floodgates and hit him with a bunch of stories. And so it's important for Republicans and conservatives to be aware of what's happening here.
Meantime, he has been hitting you overnight on Twitter in interviews as well. He's calling you a choke artist, calling you a lightweight, and puts up this tweet that has the cover of the Drudge Report this morning asking, where do you win? And that is a big question. Donald Trump is ahead in almost every state on Super Tuesday. You're ahead in none.
Yeah, I acknowledge I'm an underdog, and I have been my entire life. Unlike Donald, I didn't inherit hundreds of millions of dollars. My dad was a bartender. My mother did the job as a maid that Donald Trump now hires foreigners to do. And my whole life I've had to fight, and I'm going to now, because there is no way that the party of Reagan and the conservative movement, I'm going to allow it to be taken over by a con artist. He says I'm a choker. He's a con artist. He consistently is telling people he's going to be out there fighting on their behalf, but he has spent 40 years sticking it to the people he now claims to be fighting for.
But where do you win on Tuesday? If he wins 8 or 9 states, can he be stopped?
He can, because first of all, if you look at Tuesday, most of these states are going to award delegates proportionally. We're going to do very well in virtually every state on Super Tuesday and pick up a lot of them. Hopefully we'll win a couple. But even if we don't, you're going to see us continue to pick up delegates. And when we get into March 15th, we'll win Florida, which has a ton of delegates.
He's up double digits right now.
We'll move forward from there. No, he's not. That's one poll. We've seen multiple polls that show a very different race. I know Florida well. I've won there. I'm from there. We are going to win Florida. Florida is not going to vote for a con artist, and it's not going to vote for someone who in Palm Beach right now is not hiring willing Americans that are willing to work. Instead, he's importing workforce from abroad. But he's out there some sort of immigration crusader. It's a fraud. We're going to expose it.
Senator Rubio, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, George.